Oh, the 1st of October. What a gorgeous time to be in the woods. This is the opening of Michigan's bow season, October 1st. A lot of people write to me and call and they say, where could I go hunting? Not on state land, because I really don't know exactly what I'm doing, but is there a place I could go to rent a blind somewhere? Well, there are a few places like we're hunting here this week. This is Vic Werp's Dry Hole Club in Alcona County. 360 acres he owns, and he has blinds set throughout the woods here. And there's names to these blinds set in specific locations. This is the blind that we were hunting yesterday, opening day. Now, John was in a different blind because we wanted to be real quiet, better our chances of getting a deer. But this is the kind of blind that you're going to get if you go to one of these clubs where it's hunt for hire. It's a permanent blind. Some people would say, this really isn't hunting. But now let me take you through a tour of this and show you the situation. Now, the blind here, of course, this is all solid construction. It has a metal roof, even has little eaves over the windows here to keep the rain out, and it keeps this blind dry. The real beauty of this is, if you look at the construction here, this is a wooden floor with carpeting, very solid, so we can walk around in here and not make any noise. Let's just look around here at the windows, John. This is the prime window where we shoot out of for archery and gun hunting later on in the season. This is the window. See, the blind is elongated so you can have room to draw your bow inside here, but there are windows all around. Now, as I step in here, just take a look at the floor here. Set my bucket down. Normally, if I was in the woods, I would hunt sitting on this bucket right here. But look at this floor. You can see this is totally quiet. There's no creaking. It was built this way with a lot of solid underpinning here. And that makes it quiet when you move around in the blind. Why don't you come in, John? Show you, this is where we hang the bow. Now here's another nice thing. A carpeting strip by this 2x4 so I can hang the bow up there like that, and it can bump against here and really not make any noise. So if I see a deer, I can just lift it right off, get ready to shoot. Now, these are the little windows you see. These are on sliding panels. This is for you do-it-yourselfers that want to make a blind like this. This can be real quiet, too, for opening and shutting a window. Not much noise to it. We'll open these up on both sides. So there's lots of viewing. Here's a little slot right here you can view. But there's one chair right in the back, and you can sit in the back of this blind on the chair, look through these windows, look out the front to spot any deer. There's enough room on the ceiling. Of course, this is all dry in here, which is great, but there's room in the ceiling so you can draw your bow back. You have plenty of room, no problem. But mainly you shoot out the front window. So you're sitting in here watching for deer. Now, what are the pros and cons of a blind like this? Well, obviously, one of the pros is that you can settle back in there and have a snooze now and then if you want to. You can stay in the blind all day long, and that's a real beauty of it. Get here before daylight and stay until dark. Bring some food with you. You could even heat some things up. If it really gets cold, you can have a little heater. Oh, listen, it's raining. Oh, beautiful. We're dry, and a lot of times the deer move when it's raining. A number of deer are taken, well, at least in the sprinkles like this. The deer I got last night, I don't want to get too far to the end of the story, but it was when it was sprinkling. So the problem with a blind like this, though, is that it's permanent, and you're going to have to bring the deer to you. John, if you can swing around here, swing around to this side, this is mainly where we're shooting at here, and you see what we have? There are several things here that attract deer to this area. In a blind like this, the deer have to come here because the blind is not set up along a runway. It's set up in a natural area where the deer move. But that bait pile out there is a subject of some controversy among hunters. Let's go out and take a look at it. I'm going to swing this door shut just so it looks a little better. Now, this is what the deer sees, and this is what is attracting the deer to the area. But there's three things here going for this. This is a big open plains. You can see the oak trees here, a lot of oak trees. There's maple and oak mixed. But these oak trees bring the deer in because they cruise through here for the acorns. We also have turkeys and squirrels going for these acorns. Another thing, this is a rye field. Now, it's only about 30 feet in diameter, but this is rye that's planted here, and to some degree, the deer come in and nibble on this rye. They like this greenery, but there's a lot of that in the woods, but it does help attract the deer to this opening. And here's the other thing. oftentimes controversial, using bait for deer. Well, what are you going to do to bring a deer to a blind like this? This bait, Vic Werp supplies corn, carrots, and apples. All of them favorite foods of deer. Not only do you see deer out here, but all through the day, squirrels, blue jays, all kinds of birds come and feed on this. It provides quite a lot of entertainment. This is the distance from the bait pile to the blind. Now, actually, the deer that I got, in fact, I got a deer and a squirrel yesterday, were another 10 yards that direction, so I had a 20-yard shot. But that's what the deer sees. Let me jump back in the blind, John, and I want you to see if you can see me through that hole in the blind. When I get in the blind, John will be able to see me because my face is not camoed. You don't have to wear, it's another great thing about a blind like this, you don't have to wear a lot of camo because you're fairly well hidden. But if I had a deer out in front of the blind, I'd take my bow off like this, and John, just say, John, it's where the deer is. You can see me, you can see my face in here as I draw back and as I move, but it's kind of difficult for the deer to see in a way. I'm going to show you how I can make it more difficult. One thing I can do. Now, John, watch this, because I'm going to shut the windows and watch what happens. Now you see it's very difficult to see me in this blind. Now that makes it a lot easier for me to slip the bow off and maneuver in position for a shot. But these windows being on slides, being very silent, you can slide them back even when a deer is approaching. Now that we have the blind dark, you can see me when I get up close to the front, looking out, so you want to be careful if you do this in the blind like that. Also, you know, a camouflage glove and camo on your face could help a little bit, but the deer normally don't see it. But there's one way that a deer will see. This is a principle of hunting in a blind. You don't want to open this window back here. That back window, that allows a deer to easily see your silhouette right through the blind. So you don't want to have this window open while you're hunting. But there are some real advantages to a blind like this. One thing is you can adjust these windows. You don't have to open them all the way, just a little bit, enough to peek out, maybe on both sides, and that's what I do, just a little peek hole, because you're really waiting for the deer to be in front of the blind. Now, what about your scent? Well, the wind was blowing from the west towards us, and I'm really not concerned about the deer behind us. I can't see him anyway. There's all this area out in front where the deer can't smell a thing. But a blind like this is an advantage when it comes to scent. Just say we set off a smoke bomb in this blind to see how our scent would go. Basically, if there's any wind at all, it's going to go up because a structure like this creates a low pressure area with the breeze blowing by it, and the scent would go up. But the scent that leaks out, you can see, doesn't go all over the woods. So that's one advantage. Another thing is you don't have to wear camo clothes. I mean, I'm wearing blue jeans. You could even wear, frankly, blaze orange in here, and it wouldn't make much difference because the deer couldn't see. By the time the deer comes across, you can get a shot. Now, what happened on opening day? At 7:15, 2 deer came in. One of them was a buck. I thought it was a spike buck, but I shot, made a good shot. We tracked it last night. Here, oh, there we go.
Oh, there she is.
Oh, all right. Oh, my God. Oh, no kidding.
Oh, nice deer.
Oh, I thought it was a spike. It's a forkhorn.
Beautiful deer.
Oh, all right, Frankie.
Congratulations.
My man.
Congratulations.
Oh,
Beautiful deer.
boy, that thing went a long ways.
Real long ways.
Frank Green from Rochester helped me track this buck, which probably ended my bow hunting for the season. While the DNR allows hunters to buy tags to take multiple deer, you have to buy your tags in advance to maximize your opportunities. I didn't do this, and I had to use my either deer tag on this buck. So my bow hunting, in all probability, is over for the season. But I tell you, it was great while it lasted.
This rain started last evening on November 14th, about dark. Statewide, I guess it was raining all over the state, maybe a little snow on the Upper Peninsula. Kind of hard to believe with the temperature, though. We're here, opening morning, November 15th, the firearm deer season. I keep looking around because we hear shots periodically. We're in Clare County. Now, this is a county that has a good number of deer. This area in particular has a lot of deer, a lot of bucks reported right now. But the conditions, well, you know, I really can't say they're that bad. Very frankly, I've seen a lot of deer move in the rain in the past, and it really doesn't seem to bother the deer all that much. We haven't seen anything yet. We've been sitting here a while. Temperature, 50 degrees, a good breeze. Oh, there was a shot. But I expect the deer will be moving fairly naturally today. I don't know how the conditions are around the rest of the state, but I imagine they're fairly similar. Now, Kathy Beitler is up in Roscommon County, one county north of here. She's with Abby Burke. They're in supposedly a great blind and an ace of a spot. Why don't we go up there right now and find out from Kathy Beitler how the conditions are in Roscommon County.
Here we are in Roscommon County. We've got all kinds of rain. It's 7:15. We've only heard one shot, and that was a ways off. About the only thing that we've heard is cars going by. I haven't seen a thing move here. Actually, it's pretty warm. It must be about 40, 45.
Well, Kathy, you have one thing really going for you that I don't have, and that is two good legs. You know, I'm here in the blind with a cast on my leg and a plastic bag on the cast. How I got back to this blind, well, we'll go into that a little bit later. That was an adventure. John Ford had to carry not only the camera and all the gear in, but all of my gear. Oh, it's like having a full-time babysitter with me. But we're looking for, I suppose, a good day. I don't know, when I get a deer, of course, John's going to have to go out and take care of it, right, John?
Yeah, that's right. But I won't mind.
Yeah, it'll be a welcome sight. Now, we're in an area here. There's a two-track road, I don't know, 100 yards or so over there. We drove in this morning and walked back through the woods. We're in an area that it's not really a swamp. This is high grass out there, and I imagine if we see the deer moving through, we won't see necessarily the whole deer. Hopefully the antlers and the top part of it. We have a decoy set up right over here, one of those flambeau deer decoys. It's a doe. We don't know if that'll attract a deer this morning or not, but there's always the chance that it will.
At 9:30 a.m., an 8, maybe 10-point buck showed up.
I'm gonna have to shoot it.
What do you think?
I'm watching it.
That buck trotted off as if it wasn't hit, but how could I have missed that distance?
Here we are at the scene. The biggest buck I've ever seen in the woods and had a crack at came right through here, was walking, and it evidently saw us in the blind when John says, "There it is, wait a second." Well, we waited. You can see the runway right here. Can you see that, John? That's, I gotta hop over here. This is where the buck was going. Now, here's what happened. And we're trying to piece this together. We've looked at the tape a number of times. Come on over on this side, John. You can see that I clearly hit this tree right there, and there's the entry, knocked bark off, came out the back side. Now, this is about shoulder height on a deer. And that buck, I know I nicked it. The reason I know I nicked it for sure is right back here, we have hair. But it does look like back hair, and it looks like hair that has been nipped off. I mean, this appears to be cut right off. So all the hair is about exactly the same length, and it looks like it could have been from the back of the deer. In fact, I'm gonna put this in my pocket, check it out with the guys at camp. Because, you know, when we look at the videotape, and we don't have a chance to look at it slow motion out here, but you see right over the shoulder of the deer, behind it, a plume, which that would occur when a deer is hit, but it would also occur when a tree is hit. And we couldn't tell when we looked at the tape whether that tree was hit before or after the deer, whether it was behind it or in front of it. But this certainly is strange. You see, the blind is there. That's about, 50 yards away. The hole in the tree is there. The deer hair is where we're standing. But that could be because it blew from the wind. But this is all very strange to put together. The buck took off running, and running like it was just spooked but not hit, and then I saw it walking back around that way. And it was just walking normally, and I followed it as it kind of disappeared into the brush there. But we're going to go back and look. We've checked this whole area, see if we can find any evidence that it was an actual hit other than just grazing the hair. They call me Mr. Michigan Outdoors, but sometimes I don't know why. I tell you, John, that was my chance. I don't know.
This was as big a disappointment as a hunter can have. Only because my adrenaline was pumping could I walk further into the swamp on my crutches.
There's a shot. We're out here about 100 yards from the blind. I don't know, we scoured the area. See, that buck, I think I came as close to hitting that buck as you can. Nipped hair off its back because it ran a distance and then walked around, circled around, almost as if it was going to come back, that it was curious. I mean, that oftentimes happens. If they get spooked, they'll come around to check. So I think we scared that buck. But that could have been him catching his lunch over there. But we got back in this swamp. Here I am with bag on leg. Dr. DeVito said, one thing, I don't want to get this cast wet, but I have water to go through. Look at this, John. I got more of this to go through yet. My biggest problem is with these crutches sinking in. I've had just a heck of a time getting through here. I'll tell you. Oh, whew. That was as close as I've come.
During the several days we spent deer hunting, I struggled nearly 1 mile all told through terrain like this. If I had skis or snowshoes on the bottom of those crutches, I could have walked easily over the wet ground. Of course, they would have hung up in the brush. I was glad to get back to the blind.
Now, this is the blind. It's fairly small. You can see the design, fairly simple. A lot of people could build one. These windows flop down so you can see out. Sloped roof, and when it rains like it was this morning, dripping off of that end. It's not insulated, but it doesn't have to be. You can put a little heater in there and stay warm. It just has some tar paper on it for protection and exterior type fiberboard. And anyway, that's the blind. That's where John and I spent some long days, this being one of the longest. But here's how we get in. Put a new door on here. Here's where, well, you can see pretty well. Got our gear in here. John sits on that seat right there, and I was sitting right here. In fact, when I took the shot at that deer, I'll show you how I did that. And this is gonna take a second to get in with this leg. I know this doesn't look too graceful, but I'm not hurting myself doing this. Here was the scenario when that deer walked up. I had this bucket, which I normally sit on. I was sitting here, and I had my broken leg cradled on this ankle. And that's when the deer walked up here, so I picked up my rifle, rested it on the edge.
Back in the studio, we solved the puzzle. This was a big buck with a wide spread, and it looked like I made a perfect behind-the-shoulder shot. The scope I had on my rifle had a slight focus problem. Not bad, but the focus was soft. Now, there was a tree that I thought was behind the deer. With a soft focus through the scope, plus the excitement, I didn't see that the base of the tree was really in front of that buck. The deer flagged its tail normally and bound off as if it was spooked, but not hit. See, its tail waves back and forth, and that buck didn't run hard. It trotted off, looking back several times. Didn't look like it was hit at all, especially when we compare its reaction to that of another buck we had in our video files. That's exactly how my buck ran off. The tape proves without a doubt that the bullet hit the tree, knocked hair off the buck's back, but otherwise was a clean miss. That buck was spooked, but it wasn't hurt.
Oh, boy. I'm going to relive this one. You know, I have moments that I relive over and over again, and this is going to be one that I will be forced to relive because many of you will remind me of this constantly for years to come. Oh, I was hoping with this broken leg it would be easy.
Huh. I, of all people, should know that hunting is never easy. John Ford and I talked a lot about that moment, checking the scope, looking at the tape on a 2-inch black and white monitor in the blind. We had scoured the area anyway, as a good hunter should do, just in case the deer was down, and we didn't see what we thought we saw the way we thought we saw it. It was a big disappointment, but I'm glad that buck got away unscathed, and our hunt continued.
Things are drying out. You know, some pretty good deer hunting conditions, and like I said, being lunchtime here, I'm just going to go ahead and finish my sandwich, and we'll go up to Kathy Beitler, Roscommon County. Kathy, what's happening up there?
What really surprises me is how few shots we heard. We heard that one like at 8, and then we heard one a few minutes ago at 10 o'clock. And that's been about it. Fred did say that this was an afternoon blind, so I think we're going to go eat breakfast and be back here at 3.
Kathy Beitler and Abby Burke were hunting on what appeared to be an ideal spot, but it was on state land, crowded with hunters, and they saw no bucks the entire day. John and I saw one buck, but we were on private land with fewer hunters.
We're coming upon the last half hour of the day. This is prime time. I mean, as prime as there is left in the day. The last half hour. Hopefully there'll be some deer activity. Throughout the day, the rain stopped at probably 8:30, 9 o'clock this morning. I had a fantastic chance at a big buck. The shooting tapered off about 11 o'clock, and it's been real quiet throughout the afternoon, but it's been dry. It's been comfortable. That's the story here in Clare County. I expect a good day tomorrow, some good reports at the buck poll. Speaking of buck polls, Kathy Beitler will be up there. And Kathy, how's it look at the end of the day there up in Roscommon?
We've got a doe standing out here, but I can't do a darn thing about it. We haven't seen a single buck all day, but this doe's been back and forth 2 or 3 times. And then we had the black squirrel this afternoon, and other than that, the weather cleared up. It really turned out pretty nice. And that's our day here in Roscommon County.
The buck bowl at Lenny's gun shop in Houghton Lake looked about like it did last year on opening night. There were some nice bucks hanging, decent racks. Lenny is carrying on the tradition that Tuck Sporting Goods established many years ago. Hunters flock in to hang their bucks and to see how opening day was for other hunters. Kathy and Abby were there at the time when Gene Woods from Lansing pulled up with a monster buck. This turned out to be a 12-pointer, larger than anything that had been brought in on opening day here at Lenny's Buck Pole at Houghton Lake.
You got the biggest deer here yet tonight.
Well, I hope so.
How big did they say it was, 12?
Yeah, they said 12 with a 20-inch spread.
Where were you hunting at?
I was hunting Morristown.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Is your first year or second
This
year?
second year up in Morristown with the Ruttenbuck Deer Camp.
Oh, okay. And how many deer have you taken?
I took a little spike horn up there last year, and I got this one up there this year, and it was really remarkable. It's something that probably never happened to me again.
Did you get him this morning or this afternoon or?
I got him this tonight. Right before I
Tonight?
came in, yeah.
All right. How many other deer did you see today?
Well, I seen 3 other deer, and that was right when we drove in the morning to drop the other 2 fellas off with me, with Jason, my stepbrother, and his buddy Eric. And that's the other 2 I seen, and I seen this last one here.
Sounds good. What was the weather like over there? Kind of rainy all day?
Yep, rainy and misty. I had to keep my scope clean, but
Yeah.
didn't have to use it on the first 2 shots. I
First
used open
2?
sights. Yeah, I had to use open sights. He was on a flat run. I couldn't get him opened up in the sights or in the scope, so I used the open sights on it, and it really worked out pretty good for me.
Well, good. You did a real good job. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yep.
The youngster who got the biggest buck was 14-year-old Andy Kaufman. He got a 3-point, and his dad owns the buck pole.
So Lenny's your dad.
Yep.
Were you hunting with him this morning?
Well, I was hunting about half a mile away from his blind.
Now, is this your first year hunting?
Yeah, rifle hunting.
Rifle hunting? Okay, good. And you got, what, a spike horn? Is that what you got here?
It's a 3-point.
3-point. Well, you did really good for a first year.
Yep.
How do you feel about it?
I feel good.
Well, you should. Many more to come.
Yep.
Good.
The first woman to the buck pole for the second year in a row, Mindy Hines.
Mindy, what is the deal? We pulled into town, and here's a sign that says Mindy Hines, first deer. How'd this happen again, 2 years in a row?
I don't know. I'm getting lucky.
I guess.
I plan on doing this every year. So
Well, you got a good record going.
I do not. We live right behind here. We live
Yeah.
just right back there. So
What time did you get it?
about 8:30.
This morning? Is this first one, second one that came in, or what? Tell me
First.
about it. You got to be excited. Oh, my
Okay.
goodness.
There was 3 doe in my pile, and I'm sitting there and I'm watching and I'm waiting, and they started getting excited. So I looked, and he was like, they're here, and he was out here. He kind of like stood up, shook, and he walks in, kind of nice and easy, and I waited, and he turned right broadside, and I nailed him. Just stood easy. I mean,
That's great. You did good.
thank you.
Yeah, I couldn't believe it. So here we are, and here Mindy is, and we'll see you again next year.
Visiting a buck pole on opening day is always good for a hunter's soul, especially one like me who blew what could be a chance of a lifetime for a big buck. Many of these hunters are done, but I continued hunting the next day. We set out a decoy to attract a buck, hopefully, but in the 2 blinds I had hunted from, neither was baited. Due to the adversity of my leg, very frankly, we have moved to another blind on some property here that's next to the Mike Sell Ranch, the Ferentino property. He said he has lots of deer moving through here in the evening, and we're out in a field situation. Really, this is open field all around us, but it's connecting between 2 swamps. He says they move. Well, John set the decoy out there, and that, I'm sure, will attract some deer, especially bucks. But this blind up here is kind of a spacious blind, actually. They had a lazy boy chair in here, an old one, a real old one, but that took up a little too much room, so I'm sitting on my bucket, got my leg up here in the corner on a pile of plastic and some logs. At least it gets us up in the air a little bit. John, of course, is behind me with the camera. Lots of elbow room. It's a nice evening. So we're hoping for some good things, hoping that tonight, the second night of our firearm deer season, old Gimpy will get one. I hope. Well, from this field blind, we saw quite a few deer, 13 does, and 1 bedded down about 100 yards away. The does are fun to watch because you never know when a buck will appear that's after one of those does. Just before sunset, another one showed up.
It's coming down the road. Can you see it?
Yeah, I got it on.
This deer walked with its head down, characteristic of a buck. It was by itself. It trotted to the south of us, over 100 yards away, and we almost thought we saw antlers.
Where'd he go?
Oh, there he goes. Roll.
I'm rolling.
Because he's right between the trees there.
Yeah, switch sides again. Go on the other side.
Okay.
Oops, you're blocking. Your hood's blocked.
John and I thought we saw antlers, then we didn't, then we did, then we didn't.
It's not a buck, right?
It does look like a buck.
It does?
It is a buck. It's a buck. It's a spike.
It's a spike?
Yep.
Let me.
It's a spike, dude. I saw him for sure. Isn't it?
Oh, I can't tell.
It's a spike.
At the last moment, both of us thought we saw legal spikes, although it wasn't until we got this tape back into the studio and froze the frame that we were sure that could have been my buck. The next morning, Mike Ferentino let me use one of his best blinds, one that they usually save for bow hunting. Well, here we are, third day of the firearm deer season. I'm getting a little dejected here. My leg isn't getting any better for all this swamp walking I've been doing. But I'm sitting right here now in a different blind on the Ferentino property. I'm sitting, put my
leg on the bucket and I have an insulated boot on. But we're waiting here early morning, and there's a rye field all around us. And I'm sitting here, look at this. This is a Lazy Boy rocker of some type that they have in this blind. It's a real deluxe blind. It has carpeting on the walls, so actually, you know, you can talk a little bit in here to each other and the sound probably doesn't go out. Now, if I see a deer, or if John sees a deer, it tells me I'm going to swing this recliner sideways so I can sit up on the edge. Now I have a couple variations here. I can shoot either out this window here or out this window. Now you can see there's a deer decoy that we have set right out here, facing the opposite direction. So hopefully that might attract a buck. But I'm gonna, if a deer comes in, I'm gonna rest my rifle up against here. By the way, I've switched over here to use my 7mm Magnum. The reason is not so much the gun, but the scope. This is a real good high quality scope that I have on here, in focus. Oh yes, this will work out. But it is a little bit of a handicap with this leg, and I'm getting real tired of it, and I don't know how many more days of deer hunting I can take. But we're gonna stick it out here until I get one dog on it. There's too many deer this year and too many big ones. So I'm gonna sit back here and we'll just keep an eye out. Hopefully get something today.
John and I were getting a little dejected. We hadn't seen many deer, but I had missed a couple of really good chances. I thought my luck was all used up, but it wasn't.
You see it? I can't shoot because it's standing right past the decoy. It's looking at the decoy.
Good shot.
It took everything I could to hold that steady. Oh, man, and I squeezed the trigger. I thought it would never step out from behind that decoy. Oh, dude, I can't believe it. Oh, the third day of the season. I am shaking harder than... Oh, man.
Folks, you've got to excuse this acute case of buck fever. It's the worst I've ever had, but with a broken leg and a string of bad luck behind me, I could hardly believe that I'd get a chance at a big buck like this.
Oh, man. Oh.
Careful.
I'm so excited I can hardly stand it. Oh, look at that rack. Oh. I really should calm down, I suppose. Oh, man.
Oh, congratulations.
Oh, dude, thank you.
Hey.
Golly. Oh, I don't know how I guess I gotta... Oh. Oh, man. Oh, look at this. 2, 3, 5, 6, 7, a 7-point. This is the biggest buck I ever got in my life. Oh, I can't believe this.
So is it all worth it?
Oh, I was beginning to wonder this morning whether it was worth it or not. Oh, man, I'm shaking. Well, I already put some dental floss on my tag here earlier, back in the blind. Let's see, I gotta punch this out. It's 7 on the 1, 2, 3, 4 on the left, 3 on the right. Let's see, left, 4. Boy, now's the time that you cut yourself, you know? 4 on the left, 3 on the right. Oh.
Well, how about a smile anyway?
Yeah. Here we are.
Well, this buck proves that perseverance pays off, and an extra dose of luck never hurts either.
Oh, man, I tell you, I've been through it looking at all of those deer openers, and I'm ready to go again. By the way, you know that opener where John swung around, or the recent one when I had my broken leg? Everybody said, I thought you were going to have a heart attack, man. Well, that wasn't the case. What I had done was, when I came up on that deer, once I saw the size of the rack, I was trying to hold the crosshair steady, so I stopped breathing. I held my breath right there. By the time I finally shot, I needed air in the worst way. But that was exhilarating. That anticipation, I don't know what was better, that anticipation building up to it, or getting that buck, or eating that buck. That's what it's all about to me. Every one of these deer that we've taken, and most deer that every hunter takes in the woods, he works very hard, very carefully to preserve that meat, get it butchered, and oh, there's no finer meat in the world. But you know, we don't often dream about the venison meals we get. We usually dream about that big buck. Not too many fellas and gals get big bucks, but here he is on the wall. Take a look at him. That's what the dreams of opening day are all about.